Shouldn't move the chair, cause I need to be in one spot for the whole video. Welcome back. I am happy to see you. I hope you're there. Otherwise it's gonna be so lonely. Oh. Welcome to section number 1, and we're going to start with the most difficult thing in the whole world. Finding a pen. Got one. I have a pen, I have some paper, I hope you have some too, because in this section of the video we're going to go through a bit of a checklist. So I'm going to give you a few things that you need to work on to create your characters, from which we can springboard over into our monologues. So we want to create a character. Where do we start? We start with a goal, and a goal does not mean something willy-nilly like going to the fridge to make a ham and cheese sandwich. No. It needs to be a life goal, a pretty challenging thing to get to. The goal gives the reader something to invest in, right? So, or the listener in this case, because we're going to be performing our monologues. The goal is setting the basis for the entire plot line, so it needs to be something relatively juicy, okay? But you can take it a step further as well. We can go and give the character a big goal. We can give them a little goal. So write that down. Our goal is to write a monologue. Haha! Step number 2 is to give your character some sort of motivation. We need your character to get up off the couch and go do the thing that they are setting out to do to achieve that goal. Our goal is to write a monologue, and the motivation for that is to while away the time while we're stuck indoors, or maybe to sharpen up our writing skills. Now we're going to move into some more personal stuff. So how about we give your character a fear? Alright, so what we can do here is we can go big fear and we can go little fear. And when I say little fear, I mean things like a silly little phobia. Fear of spiders, fear of heights. Not that those are silly or irrational at all. Spiders and heights can in fact kill you. Be careful out there. And you also want to give them a big fear. And these are things that are quite intense. It could be something like a fear of failure, a fear of loneliness, a fear of the existential crisis that we're all facing at the moment. Is the world gonna end? Oh no! Give your character a flaw. This is something that is very, very personal to your own character, something that isn't quite right with them. Something along the lines of they are dishonest, or maybe they are very, very proud, or maybe they're a little bit arrogant. It just adds a little bit more nuance to your character. So give them a flaw. Next thing on the checklist is interests. Maybe they like cooking, fast cars, basketball. One of the last things you want to give your character is a quirk. Now, a quirk is an easy cop-out when writing full-rounded characters. So a quirk is something that is unique to your characters. As an example, a quirk is something that only your character has. One that is floating around quite a lot these days is a little bit of a tendency towards OCD. And that would mean that your character obsessively has to clean things, or obsessively has to turn the light switch on and off a couple of times before they leave the house. I urge you to use quirks with caution. Don't just put in a quirk for the sake of having a quirky character. I want your quirk to come out naturally. So if you don't have a quirk, don't force one in there. Rather, write the rest of your character and then let the quirk come out on its own. Next thing is give your character something that they love. And when I say love, I mean something that they are willing to die for. Like an Oreo McFlurry. If only those ice cream machines weren't broken all the time. The second last thing that you want to give your character, and the opposite of the previous thing, is give your character something they hate, absolutely abhor. So not so much a fear, but definitely something that they would either try to avoid or maybe set on fire. Last thing we're gonna give to our characters is a history, and this is probably the thing that's going to take you the longest to write. We are looking for a long-term history, a short-term history. And when I say long-term, I mean, where were they born? What was the weather like when they were born? Where did they go to school? Were they an alien and just knew things instinctively? And then you also have to go to the short-term history. What did they have for breakfast yesterday morning? What were they wearing? What were they doing literally 5 seconds before the monologue is going to start? The more you can fill out in your history, and also in the other things, your likes, your loves, your character flaws, your quirks, the more of those you have, the more details you have, the more reason your character will have to act a certain way. If your character is afraid of spiders, then they will certainly try to avoid a spider or try killing a spider if you happen to have a spider in your monologue. So this is again one of those things where we try to give as much detail as possible so that we can answer the question why? Why? I'm sorry, did I say the last thing was to give them a history? That was totally a lie. What I meant to say was the last thing is give them a name. Another little useful tip that I would urge you to do, draw your character. Why not? I want to know how many legs they have, whether they are right-handed or left-handed. I want to know what color hair they have, whether they have hair or not. Give them a physical description as well and draw it. Finally, before we end off, let me just go through that checklist really quickly. With all of those put together, we can start building our characters. All right, until next time, keep writing.